Hello everyone and welcome to the first bonus part of Fainting in Front of the Team. This is the second Karasuno edition with Kageyama this time. I'm really excited and you all seem to really want this part in the community post, so let's go! The king of the court? Yeah, just a selfish setter. They say he was brilliant, but in spite of that, his team rejected him. Mid-game, nonetheless. They were ready to lose if it meant not playing with him anymore. Whoa, how bad was he? A real jerk, that much is sure. Kageyama could hear the voices from everywhere around him. His head hurt, but the loud swelled to a loud buzzing. It was as if a mass of people was closing in on him, but when he looked up, all he could see were faceless figures mumbling in the background. He wanted to lash out and tell them to shut up, but he didn't know at who. He recognized no one. None of the figures were even close enough that he should have heard them, but it was as if the sound echoed from everywhere. He felt his breathing pick up in speed as the murmuring combined with flashes of memories. Images from his time in middle school forced themselves to the forefront of his mind. He felt as though his head was about to explode as the world around him drowned in the increasingly growing louder chatter. He woke up with a gasp. His heart was racing in his chest and his head was still buzzing. His throat burned with every breath he took, and suddenly a cough tore through the silence. It took a moment to catch his breath. Ironically enough, he was startled again by his phone announcing that it was time to go practice. His head still hurt, and for a moment he stayed hunched over, sitting on the edge of his bed while trying to process the memories. It was just that. Memories. Nothing to worry about or waste a thought on. He had moved on. Karasuno wanted him as their setter. He had a team. He repeated the thought in his head like a mantra while fighting down the taste of bile and heaving himself out of bed. He'd have to hurry to be at school before Hinata. When he finally left the house, relief flooded his system. The cool morning air helped. Ever since the nightmare, he was tense and his muscles burned in response. The jog to the school helped. The cool air burned in his unprepared lungs and caused his nose to turn red, but he embraced it. It woke him up and grounded him in reality. But despite that, the after effects of this morning still lingered in his bones. He felt more sluggish than usual, and although the pounding in his head had died down to a subtle throbbing, it was persistent. Even worse, upon arrival, a certain red-haired spiker greeted him with a wide grin. I won today! A scowl settled on Kageyama's face. He wanted to be mad at him, but the genuine smile the Smaller presented him with made it hard. It had been a trend lately that he found himself faltering whenever Hinata looked at him like that, even though he wasn't sure why. He scoffed and walked past him to the club room without another word, to change. Kageyama, focus! Don't just attack over the middle! Damn it! He knew that. He usually never struggled to diversify their offense, but today his brain refused to comply. More than once he had sent his spikers up against 3 blockers when the alternative would have been much more promising. All his attempts to confuse their opponent's defense fell flat, and his own attacks were blocked. He grew increasingly more restless. His eyes flickered across the court to take in all the information he could, but despite that, it seemed as though his mind failed to process them. In the split second he had to decide, Hinata's presence was the only one he recognized immediately. Instinctively he sent the ball his way, time and time again, failing to use that presence as the ultimate decoy he was. He felt caged the longer he played. The court was his safe haven, the only place he was accepted, until he wasn't anymore. And the only place he could connect with his teammates, but today, this connection had been severed. In between rallies, he wiped the sweat from his face and tried to catch his breath. Even though this was only their second set today, he felt hot. He had to compensate for his slow thinking by playing even faster attacks over the middle. He couldn't let them down. Kageyama? What? Hinata flinched back, causing Kageyama's stomach to turn. He immediately bit his tongue. Sorry. Just jump, I'll bring the ball to you. From the corner of his eye, he could see the ginger exchanging glances with their teammates, but what caught his attention was Coach Ike. He frowned and leaned down to Takeda, talking about something while the teacher glanced over to him as well. No, they wouldn't bench him, right? This wasn't an official game. He was playing well, wasn't he? Not as well as usual, perhaps, but certainly not as bad as in middle school. He felt his chest constricting and pain as a sharp sound tore through the silence. Right, the game. As he prepared to serve, he had to focus. He wouldn't get switched out. He wouldn't. He had to play better. For a moment, refocusing all his energy on the game, his mind cleared, and with a quick pass to Tanaka, they got the next point. Good. He had to focus. The game proceeded quickly when suddenly on his next jump, his vision suddenly blacked out. When he came down, the ball fell far off from where Tsukishima had expected it to the ground. He cursed under his breath. Focus, goddammit. By now, it wasn't just his brain refusing service as his vision went in and out of focus. He couldn't read in his teammates' blurred expressions, but before anyone could speak up, the set proceeded. Noya set the ball. On the next point, he walked to the serving line, noticing with growing alarm that he couldn't hear anything but the rushing of his own blood in his ears and his hectic heartbeat. The signal to serve was given, but he couldn't move. It felt as though his limbs were locked in place. He could see the whole court before him. All eyes were on him as they waited. Suga called out to him and Daichi frowned. Their mouths moved, but he didn't hear a thing. Then, suddenly, everything fell. No, he fell. He realized late that he had lost his balance. In the second it took him to reach the ground, all he could see was a pair of brown eyes framed by red hair. They widened in shock. Then, suddenly, it was all gone. Kageyama! Hinata didn't hesitate, didn't wait to see how the others would react, didn't pause to hear what the coach would order. He just ran. His setter had been off the whole day. He knew it. He was grateful to have been given one set after the other, but this wasn't right. Something in Kageyama's eyes had changed and his precision was lacking. And now, he saw him waver and immediately ran as though he tried to save a match ball. Just in time. He reached him before his head could collide with the hardwood floor and barely held him up by his collar. Kageyama? Kags? No response. This had it looked like he had been told that he only ever would be able to play volleyball again if he aced all of his tests. Hey, careful! Uke visibly struggled to fight his way through the concerned team swiftly surrounding Kageyama. Daichi and Nishida tried to help and keep the rest at bay, while Suga sneaked past them and sat down next to Hinata and Kageyama. He frowned concerned as he inspected the first year. Hinata's hand began to shiver, but he didn't loosen his grip on the setter. "You can let go of him now, kid." Uke carefully instructed him to lower Kageyama to the ground, while Shimizu rushed to bring them a water bottle and a small towel. Kageyama groaned and pressed his eyes close against the blinding ceiling lights. "Kags?" "Shut up. Okay." His face twisted in pain and Hinata's hands flew up to cover his mouth. "He's burning up." Suga had placed a gentle hand on his forehead and quickly accepted the things Kyoko handed them. He took some of the water from the bottle and dampened the towel with it. "Here, this'll help." Kageyama took it, still a bit disoriented. "How are you feeling, kid?" The setter shrugged his shoulders while sitting up slowly. "Careful. Fainting is nothing to be taken lightly. Did you hit your head?" He shook his head, still trying to puzzle together what had happened. "Okay, come on. We get you over to the bench, and then home. You need to rest." At bench, his eyes widened, and he tried to get up quickly but staggered as a sharp pain spread through his head. He hissed and felt how two pairs of hands reached out to stabilize him. Embarrassed, he pulled away from the small spiker to his left. "No, I can still play." The whole team looked at him incredulously while Uke's face darkened. "No, kid, you can't. You need to rest." Kageyama's hands tightened into fists. He finally had a team that accepted him, and now he'd let it down? He couldn't. "Don't be stupid. You can play once you get better again." "Exactly." "You are one to talk." "What was that?" "Hey, you two, enough!" Daichi turned back to break up the fight between the libero and their middle blocker. Meanwhile, Asahi offered him a hand, which he took reluctantly. The ace led him to the bench as their coach instructed and offered him a soft smile for comfort. "This isn't for long, just until you feel better." Kageyama refused to look at him as he nodded. He refused to look at any of them. Suddenly, the bench shifted a little under another weight being added. When he looked up, reddish hair greeted him and a smile that could compete with the sun. "What are you doing here?" "Hey, I just wanted you to have some company." Hinata pouted, but didn't leave. Something about that seemed to add to the heat of his already starting fever, and he turned away again. "Also, Coach said you shouldn't go home alone, so I'll accompany you." He said it determined, leaving no room to argue, and as much as Kageyama wanted to refuse out of habit, the short second of speechlessness the ginger's sudden appearance cost him wouldn't let him. Thank you so much for watching to the end. I hope you liked it. I hope this was what you expected. If you did, remember to leave a like and subscribe if you don't want to miss out on anything in the future, and leave a comment. It would greatly help this channel. Furthermore, I have a somewhat exciting announcement, so to say. We have now a request form so that I can keep track of all your requests. For all those of you that have already made a request, I'm sorry, but due to a change in the form, most of the initial answers got lost, so please feel free to put in your request again. I would love to hear them. Special thanks to my nerdy neckos. Check out my other social media, or even better, other ways in the end card, and now I hope you have a wonderful and amazing day.
Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up.